Paintings are actually very digital things because they are more technologically made than anything we do with computers, because they involve memory, they involve...
Donc pour lui, la peinture est ce qu'il y a de plus numérique, puisque ça invoque la mémoire, ça invoque énormément de microsystèmes à l'intérieur. Hein.
You know what, I really don't like this translation thing in French, because my brain works fast in many directions and it's quite impossible to translate. So maybe you just want to listen to me and then we will send you a tape with all the translation. Because I really, if I stay there and listen what I said, I get embarrassed. So I really propose that we don't, that you let me talk here in English and whatever you catch, and it's mostly images, entertaining and stuff. So these are paintings. I didn't know how to paint. I had no training as a painter. I went to an art school, mostly to meet pretty girls. And in the art school it was all contemporary art, so painting was not allowed, of course. And I had to learn how to paint 5 years ago when I got bored enough to make these exhibitions with all these objects and stuff, what Nicolas Bourriaud calls relational aesthetics, I think. And after like some years of relational aesthetics, you really make some choices in your life and you are like, do I really want to do that? And I didn't, and in fact for his exhibition, Traffic, where he actually proposed this relational aesthetics, instead of giving him an installation or a performance, I made a painting. So now, how did I learn to paint? I call somebody on the telephone and I ask him. So this guy gave me the notions of how to make classical paintings. And they are actually pretty easy. It's like the same way that you learn how to work with computers. In fact, in order to learn how to paint, I had to use my computer. I opened my computer and asked it, how shall I paint? And what I did is I opened Adobe Photoshop and look how Adobe Photoshop paints. And what it does, it opens a file. So Adobe Photoshop opens a file, an empty file. This means you have to go and buy a canvas. And then you project an image, you paint the image, and then you correct the levels and the curves and all these things until the image is satisfying, and that's how you do paintings. And everybody can actually. Nobody had painted computers yet. It was 95. And there is really only one problem in the art. When you want to become an artist, you are faced with only one problem. It's not the problem of beauty or the problem of content or the problem of anything conceptual. It's the problem to discover something that has not been done before. Because you don't want to do art, you want to do the new type of art. And if it's made before, it's not that new type of art, it's kind of tautological. So I started painting cables. I paint some bananas next to cables. So, right, video game images. I made portraits of digital equipment, such as digital cameras, and people who watch on computers. I really didn't want to paint people, but you become kind of a junkie once you start. And then you paint people. And people is, let's say, the heroine of painting. Anyway, very fast I show you these things from my work. Here, people who sleep, people who play video games. Claudia, my gallerist here in Paris.
J'en profite pour rajouter d'ailleurs que vous pourrez découvrir les peintures de Miltos à la fin du mois de janvier à la Cosmic Gallery, et qui aura aussi le vernissage pour son idéal office. Donc, et là ce sera à Outcast, Et je ne connais pas pardon, la date, mais c'est fin janvier.
Right. This is great to translate in French because it's information that people should know. And yeah, you see, some things are good to translate, other things are not so good. Yeah, all this stuff. This was my very first painting, is a portrait of a power book, and actually I should have stopped there, because why make more? It's a perfectly abstract painting and at the same time perfectly realistic. It's a power book from the top, an all grey painting, bluish grey painting, which I paint many, many times. Screens and Claudia again, playing video games. Okay, that's enough about painting. This is a smart card. I always been in love with these things, the smart cards. I'm in love with anything that can cover the canvas and you don't need to do anything else around. But the thing is kind of rectangular and you can project it on a canvas and it covers the surface. I think that that's a very effective thing. And that's enough with paintings.
Shall we talk about me?
Yes, and now we will start talking about Nin. So, Nin. What is Nin? We don't know yet. We have to start by saying that Nin is something that we don't know what it is exactly. How did it happen? It happened because I was bored and I wanted something new. And there was nothing really new around. I mean, many things were new, but there was not a new platform. I'm kind of simplistic guy and I really want to know who are the friends and who are the enemies. So I can start shoot on the enemies and love the friends. Any student becomes a contemporary artist, you meet them in the exhibitions, at the end they also become your friends because they are nice people. So I didn't know who are the good guys and who are the bad guys. So I decided, okay, let's make it myself. Let's find a new concept and see who fits inside it and let outside everybody else. So I wanted a new name that somehow covers the landscape and also connects us with the idea of computers and computer screen. Why? Just because they are the newest things in the planet and nobody has worked with them. Again. So what I did is I hired a company, Lexicon. This is a California company based in Sausalito. And they are creators of names. It's a branding. A girl that she's my producer, and a blonde, wonderful woman. Her name is Yvonne Force. And Yvonne was like, honey, yes, whatever. Let's buy you a name. So they were busy making names for Sony and pharmaceuticals and all these things. And that's the people of Lexicon, actually, some of them. So we bought Nin, and we gave a big presentation at Gagosian Gallery in New York. We had Andy Warhol's paintings, shadows, black from one side and white from the other, just to create some atmosphere. And then I invite people like this guy here with the long hair. His name is Steven Pinker, and he's a great scientist, psychoanalyst, psychosociological, whatever, writer in the United States, professor in MIT, the president of the company, Lexicon. This is a writer. She writes books about video games, and she writes also for New York Times. And this guy here is one of the theorists of digital culture, Peter Nunelfeld. And this is Joseph Kossuth, who couldn't come, so he was present through teleconference. And what we did is we presented this name, we presented Nin. we presented something that we didn't know what it is, of course. That's me. Unfortunately, that time I had glasses and I looked horrible. And a very interesting thing that happened with NIN is the moment I was giving my presentation, the very expensive projector, which was supposed to be one of the best, started to project it green. And this started a really tradition of accidents during NIN. It's as if machines, you may have noticed that sometimes you want to give a presentation and your machine doesn't behave as it should behave as a machine. It starts to get a kind of personality, and so machines, whenever we do NIN things, they create accidents. They want to have their own opinion onto that, and that was great. I mean, I respect that from that time. Actually, I decided that the NIN exhibitions are the exhibitions where such a kind of accident should happen. If not, it's not really a NIN thing. This is Yvonne, the wonderful collaborator of mine, producer. And this is Sushi Matsuda here. Sorry. This Japanese guy here is Sushi Matsuda, who was supposed to represent Sony. What happened is I invited Sony to sponsor the event, and they really wanted, only that they made it so difficult that at the end we didn't bother to use their machines, we used our own Sony machines. But because I really wanted to have Sony as my collaborator, mostly for like a moral feeling, I brought my own Sony. I brought Mr. Sushi Matsuda, dressed him with a nice suit, and introduced him as the Sony guy. And this was very useful also because after the presentation, everybody, the artists and people who were after money, they would go after Sushi Matsuda and explain him all his work, all their works. And I said to Sushi, just listen, never talk. Because you are Japanese and you don't talk English, you are from Sony. And he would just move his head. And so it was great, because people like DJ Spooky and other people, they really spent the whole cocktail after torturing Sushi Matsuda. So I decided that always you should have a Sony guy with you. Yeah, so we did the presentation, and now I will play you a little movie. It was the computer that actually spoke the word. Here.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? We are happy to announce a new thing. The name is Need. Hope that you like it. Again, Need, the new name for contemporary artist Need, and it is made by a computer program. Need shall I repeat? N-E-E-N. The new name is Need. Have a nice evening.
So this was the presentation we did of NIN. And I thought that that's it, it's over. NIN will never really become a reality, because why shall it become a reality? It's not enough that you dream of something and then it comes. It came out that actually it is enough. And I start discovering the planet NIN stars, people who are doing NIN. Some of them, they start to do contemporary art, so they have been expelled immediately and lost their jobs. A few of them, though, they really start to make something strange, and that was NIN. So this was the very first NIN piece, made by Mike Calvert, a Los Angeles-based artist, or NIN star, with a test copyright and intellectual property. This is Stripper, as you can see, the stripper is a work by Mai Ueda. That's another of her naked drawings. That's really a pencil drawing animated in 2 frames. It's quite nice. This is a piece I did lately. It's called jacksonpollock.org. It's a website where you make a Jackson Pollock with your mouth. And it really came out of a suggestion by Raphael Rosenthal, a Dutch ninster, who discovered online this flash animation that makes the Jackson Pollock, and he said, you should use it, because they know that I like Jackson Pollock. And then Mai Ueda said, you should definitely register the domain jacksonpollock.org.
Could you speak about your volunteer to sell your domain names, because I know that it's important.
Yeah, so now I believe that today we do art. I think that the new type of art, the most interesting type of art, are the websites. Why is the most interesting? Because it's the less considered as art than anything else. We know that everything is art, apart of the websites. Why? Because the websites, they don't exist yet. I mean, they are now, they're happening now. So if today we want to make amazing art, what we should do is think of a nice web domain name, make something that can go there on that web page, and this is the artwork. That's what people will remember as art of these times. All the rest that you see in museums and galleries are just secondary. I mean, they're great, they're lovely, and myself too, sometimes I'm amused, and I may watch them for like 5 minutes, but they are not, they're kind of irrelevant. My interest was always words, because I think that names, they can really change reality. I trust names a lot. I think the moment you come with a name, you introduce it, it has a power. A great ninster. Another thing about Nin is that it's very easy to really actually become a ninster and become a great Nin creator. You don't need to have any education or any or any requirement. It's really an easy thing to do. And if there is something that I respect, is things that are easy. Yeah, that's a new piece. That's such an amazing piece. And yeah. His website is angeloplesas.com. If you go to nin.org, you can find all the links for that. Some ninsters love this, some others they hate it. And that's another one, a new one.
That's the last one?
Yeah, that's one of the last ones.
Le nom c'est bonjourtristesse.com.
Yeah, it's called bonjourtristesse.com. Yeah, so this is Angelo Plesas. Let's see, have we seen this? Ah, that's a nice one. And then you can spin these things.
It's his vision of ninsters.
Yeah, he has it on a website called ninstar.com. It's kind of self-portrait and portrait with his friends, with the other ninstars. Google is already an entity, and it will become more and more an entity. These entities will communicate between them. There is something that Isabelle asked me to talk about. Let me find my note.
Yeah.
Here, speak about it, Isabelle. I wrote this, that Bob Dobbs, which was a friend of McLuhan, said that advertising is communication between machines, and he also suggested that machines came alive in 1967 and that they are now in their angelic state. According to him, advertising is communication between angels. One of my concerns is of course if the human public, they like my work, but mostly I ask Google, do you like my work? Google, that's my nightmare. Before do this work, I was busy with the critics and Flash Art and these magazines. They care about my work. Now it's really secondary to me. I open Google and I'm searching there what does it think about me. There is this wonderful website, googlism.com, where you can find a portrait of yourself. And now, in the presentation, it's like, no, I don't want to work, I don't want to connect on the internet. So you will not see googlism.com. Anyway, if you go to googlism.com and put the name Miltos Manetas, what it comes with, the first phrase, it says Miltos Manetas is the net. Let's see some more in pieces. This one, yes. You use your mouse to do this simple action. And this is Dusty Purette, the youngest one. There are other people that are really genius people and they do things like this here, which are these squares, and then you wake them up and they start. You see, they wake up and they go around to sleep somewhere else until they disappear, they go out of the paper. The question of the copyright is mostly a philosophical question, because we live in a time that it's similar to the time of the slavery, when all the economy of the community was based on slavery. So it would be crazy to actually suggest that slaves should not be slaves. Technological intervention with just the use of some box cutters, 2 towers collapsed in a geometrical way. I have a designer friend who was explaining me that if these Arabs, they wanted to create a most deep offense to us, they would have destroyed only 1 tower. So then the second tower would stay there and we would always remember we will not even able to build a nice architecture. We will have to actually throw down the second tower ourselves. This friend of mine is a designer, so he explained me that these terrorists were not good designers. They didn't done a good job in terms of designing and advertisement, because really now what they did, it created a lot of opportunity to make our civilization even more happy. But it was mean, because they sacrificed the telic, they really sacrificed their telic reason, their message, to this idea about geometry. They wanted to make something geometric, so they've seen 2 towers, they throw them down both. An Arabic love for geometry. So Nin doesn't have to be positive. I mean, it's not something that is good or bad. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's terrible, and sometimes it's stupid. Here's the creature who sleeps, and this is nice Nin. This is like Nin that is nice. Your mother would love it. And Nin for your mother, that's it. It's beautiful. Yeah. Okay, just a second. This is another piece by Raphael Rosenthal. It's this black website, and then you search a little bit, and here is made on a painting of Roy Lichtenstein. You discover a face on this black website. And the work that I really like a lot is this thing. I think that this is a masterpiece. You just draw a line and it makes a gradation. I think that this is like really a masterpiece. Just makes a gradation. Tell me what you see around in museums and galleries that can compete with such a thing. I don't think that anybody, but
Il faut savoir que Miltos a des théories très très intéressantes sur Jésus.
yeah, you can say in French some of these things.
Il faut savoir que par exemple, moi ce qui m'a fait le contacter la première fois, c'est que j'avais lu un texte où il disait que si Jésus devait revenir aujourd'hui, il faudrait qu'il revienne en Pokémon géant. Parce que s'il revenait en marchant sur l'eau, on n'y croirait plus, puisque ce serait plus un miracle, puisque ça a déjà été fait. Et donc voilà.
Yeah, I think that Jesus is a very interesting person. Actually, he's kind of a virtual reality creature because so many people are Christians. So let's say it's their avatar. We can really like accept Jesus and Mohammed and everybody else, Elvis Presley, as avatars, contemporary avatars. They are between us because they are actually how do you say? They are stimulated from the imagination of people that they believe on them. So of course they are alive. But apart of that, there is a reality of today, and yeah, and we are conformist people, and we love to collaborate with structures, so we have to accept copyright. But whenever we can copy, we do it. And
Your website is a copy, no?
my website is actually a copy of a website of Nikola Tosic, to whom I commissioned a website, and he promised to make me one, and he never did. So what I did is I just copied his website. And but also my work has been copied. There is an Italian artist, his name is Gabriele Di Matteo, and he wanted to make copies of my paintings. He made an exhibition. I left him do the copies. He made the whole Manetas exhibition. I even sent him my ex-girlfriend in Italy in the opening, so she would be there as a performance. Anyway, this question of intellectual property and copyright is huge, so we will be here to talk for all the future centuries if we are here.